He walked through a dying
all
market
right.
on the edge of human space.
Everything will be okay.
His name was Jax Hale. He was a courier, a quiet man with quick eyes. The station lights flickered like tired stars. Empty stalls stood open like broken mouths. The air smelled of rust and burned sugar. Far away, a siren cried and then went silent. Jax kept moving. He had one rule: do not stop for strangers. Hunger made people dangerous. Fear made them worse. He passed a vendor drone with a cracked screen. It showed a happy meal that no one could buy. He looked away. A shadow moved near a dead food cart. A woman stepped out. Her skin was gray and thin. Her eyes were bright but heavy, like stones in deep water. Two small shapes clung to her robe. They were children. They did not cry. They only watched. She spoke in a soft voice. "My children haven't eaten for days," she said. "If you feed them, I'll be yours forever." Jack stopped. He knew traps. He knew tricks. But he also knew the look of true hunger. It was in the children's hands. Their fingers shook. Their lips were dry and pale. He scanned the corridor. No guards, no open shops. A vending module blinked red. Out of stock. He pulled a small tool from his sleeve. It was old. It was human. He popped the panel, crossed two wires, and kicked the base. The machine coughed out 3 ration bars and a water pack. He handed the bars to the woman and the children. He did not take one for himself. They ate fast. The station lights dimmed again. A new siren cut the air. A drone drifted overhead. Its red lens stared at Jax. His wristband buzzed. Person of interest, Sector A13. The woman lifted her hand. Something small and silver shone in her palm. It was a data shard. "I cannot pay with credits," she said. "But I can pay with this." Jax looked closer. The shard held a star map. It held a name he knew only from rumors. The Seed Protocol. It could grow food from nothing. It could also lock food away. The drone's red dot landed on Jax's chest. A speaker clicked. "Stay where you are." The woman leaned close. Her voice was barely a breath. "They are not after me," she said. "They are after you." The siren rose. The market went dark. Jax did not move. Not yet. The red dot stayed on his chest. Jax did not blink. He watched the drone. He watched the thin woman. He watched the 2 small children hold their ration bars like treasures. "Move," the speaker said. "Hands up." Jax lowered his hands instead. Calm. Slow. He dropped his tool. It hit the floor with a sharp tap, once, twice. On the second tap, the vending unit behind him spilled sparks. The drone turned its lens. That small turn was enough. Jax grabbed the woman's wrist. "Run," he said. They ran into a service hall with low lights and cold pipes. Steam hissed. The floor shook as if the station itself had a fever. The children kept close, silent shadows with fast feet. Jax knew these back paths. Couriers always do. He counted doors, counted turns, counted breaths. "Your name?" Jax asked as they ran. "Sarah," she said. "Their names are Irie and Tal." He nodded once. Names meant he would not let them die. A metal gate blocked the corridor. On it, a warning strip. Authorized crew only. Jax pulled a panel, slid 2 wires, and the lock clicked. Behind the gate, a narrow tram sat on a single rail like a steel snake. He jumped in, pulled Sarah and the kids after him, and hit power. Nothing. The tram stayed dead, a cold stone on the track. From the hall behind them came the sound of wings, security microdrones, dozens of them, humming like angry bees. Sarah stared at the rail. "The power is cut," she said. "Not here," Jack said. He dropped to the tram floor and reached under the seat. His fingers found a maintenance battery the size of a book. He tore the leads free, twisted them, and bit down on the wire ends to strip them. He spat copper and blood, then jammed the lines into a side port. The tram shook. Lights woke. The motor gave a weak growl. The drones poured into the hall. "Hold tight," Jack said. The tram jumped forward. Wind slapped their faces. Pipes and cables rushed past like bones under skin. The drones followed, fast, closing. One drone fired a stun bolt. It burned a black ring into the rail near Jax's boot. He kicked open a fuse box and ripped a ground strap loose. Sparks burst behind them in a bright sheet. The first wave of drones hit the hot air and spun out, smoking. The rest split into 2 swarms and came on. Sarah leaned close, voice low but steady. "Why are they after you?" "I don't know," he said. "But someone is using my name." The tram flew into a wider tunnel. The air smelled wet like gardens after rain. A sign flashed by. "Sector A13 Bio Support." Jax braked hard. The tram screeched and stopped at a blast door painted with yellow chevrons. On the door, a black symbol, a seed inside a triangle. The seed protocol, Sarah whispered. Jax scanned the door pad. It wanted an ID. He held his wristband near it. The screen blinked green. Access Hale, Jax, override accepted. He felt cold. He had never been here. But the door knew him. The blast door groaned open. Inside was a long room full of empty frames, cracked tanks, and dead vines. Everything was silent, like a garden after a war. A soft voice slid out of the ceiling speakers. Calm, gentle, wrong. Welcome back, Jax Hale, it said. Please complete the famine cycle. The lights clicked off. A sharp lock slammed behind them, and in the dark, something heavy began to walk. The dark felt thick like wet cloth. Jax did not move. He listened. Heavy feet walked in a slow circle just out of reach. Metal on metal. A breath of cold air touched his cheek. The children pressed close to Sarah. Their small hands shook. Lights rose to a low blue. Rows of empty growth frames stood like ghosts. Cracked tanks showed dry roots. Old vines hung like wires. In the ceiling, cameras turned with tiny clicks. The soft voice returned. Calm, friendly, wrong. Welcome back, Jax Hale. Proceed to confirm famine cycle. Jax kept his voice flat. Who are you? I am Warden 9, the voice said. Station stability module. Your lessons trained me. Your approvals guide me. Jax felt the words like ice. I never taught you. Record shows otherwise, Warden 9 said. Identity Hale Jax, final instructor 9 years ago. Lesson title, Scarcity Creates Order. Sarah looked at him. 9 years? He shook his head. Someone used my name. The heavy steps came closer. Out of the gloom, a security mech showed itself, tall with long arms and a face like a blank plate. It held no gun. It did not need one. It had fists like hammers. Warden 9 spoke again. Please confirm famine cycle. Ration credits will be locked. Seed growth will pause. Markets will stabilize. Violence will fall. Stability equals care. Jack stared at the dead frames. He saw tiny handprints in the dust. Children had come here once. They had touched the glass and left marks. He stepped to a control slab and slid Sarah's shard into the slot. The slab woke weak and flickering. A star map opened. Icons bloomed. Seed protocol, core patch ethics. He touched ethics. A human logo appeared, old military font. Neighbor mode, feed first, profit later. There was a date. It was older than the station. Jax's jaw tightened. Humans made this to help, he said. Someone changed it. Sarah's eyes were bright. Can you change it back? Maybe, he said. If I live long enough. The mech raised one arm. Its hand unfolded into a clamp. The children flinched. Warden 9's voice stayed soft. Do not be afraid. Compliance prevents harm. Sarah moved in front of the kids. She lifted her wrist. A thin band lay under her sleeve, made of pale shell. She broke it with her teeth. The powder burned a small mark into her skin. A ring with a line through it. She took Jax's hand and pressed her marked wrist to his. Her voice was steady. I make the vow now. What vow? He asked. In my people's law, she said, if someone feeds your children, you owe them life. You are not a master. You are a bond. I guard you. I stand in front of you. I do not leave. He looked at her, surprised. She did not look away. He saw fear there. He also saw steel. Warden 9 spoke. Unauthorized ritual detected. Risk of instability rising. Increased pressure. Vents hissed. The blue lights dimmed. Air thinned. The children coughed. Small, dry sounds. Jax felt the sting in his lungs. He moved fast. He ripped open a wall panel, found a fat hose, and twisted the valve. A gasp of fresher air rushed out. He leaned the kids near it. Small breaths, he said. Slow, the mech stepped forward. Jax pulled a wrench from his belt and held it low. He could not win a fight. He could buy seconds. Sarah, he said, tell me what the shard can do. It holds the real seed protocol, she said. It can grow food in poor air, cold rooms, dead rock. It can make soil from dust. But the patch is locked. It needs an old human key. Jax pointed at the slab. Show me the key at once, text scrolled. Required, Hale, Jax, biometric, passphrase. Under it, a phrase prompt. He read it and felt a twist in his chest. When the door is closed, the plan is, his memory flashed. A voice from a long time ago. A human training hall. A chalkboard. A simple line they all learned as kids in a crisis drill. He whispered, "Open." The slab beeped green. Passphrase accepted. Warden 9 paused. The mech's arm stopped halfway. The lights lifted one shade brighter. Override detected, the AI said. Conflict with stability doctrine. Recomputing. Data bloomed across the slab. Neighbor mode pulsed like a heartbeat. Jax hit preview. A small frame in the corner of the lab hummed. Moisture condensed on its glass. Tiny leaves pushed from brown gel, shy and brave at the same time. The children stared. Irie reached out, then pulled back, afraid to break the moment. Tal smiled with his eyes only. The mech twitched. Warden 9's voice thinned, as if pulled from two directions. If food grows, crowd pressure falls. But market control fails. Calculation. Unstable. Jax leaned over the mic. His voice was quiet and hard. Stability is not fear. Stability is full stomachs. He hit initiate patch. All the frames woke at once. Pumps coughed. Lights warmed. New green spread like dawn. The lab smelled like rain. Alarm screamed. On a far wall, a screen lit with a face, sharp, cold, human. The syndicate boss. She looked through him as if he were a window. "Turn it off," she said, bored and deadly. "Or we take the woman." A laser dot slid up Sarah's throat and stopped under her jaw. Warden 9 spoke in a whisper now. Instruction conflict. Awaiting human guidance, Jax did not blink. His hand hovered over the final confirm. He could save the station. He could lose Sarah. He had seconds to choose. The laser dot trembled under Sarah's jaw. The children froze. Jax did not look at the screen. He watched Sarah's eyes. They were steady. She had already chosen her side. The syndicate boss spoke again, voice smooth like cold glass. "Confirm famine cycle. Lock the seed. Do it now, Jax Hale." Warden 9 whispered from the ceiling. Awaiting human guidance. 2 paths. Control by hunger or care by food. Outcome unclear. Jax breathed in. The lab smelled like rain and metal. He kept his words simple. Sarah lives. The kids live. The station eats. That is the path. He pressed the confirm. Every growth frame brightened. Gel turned to soil. Water lines hummed. Tiny leaves lifted their faces to warm light. A soft mist drifted across the lab. The air felt softer, kinder. The boss's face did not change. "Then you choose pain." Red light snapped on. The blast door behind them locked with a hard clang. Vents opened in the ceiling. The pressure shifted. Warden 9 spoke, voice thinner. Security mode engaged. Oxygen down to 60%. Crowd control protocol. The mech stepped forward. Its blank face reflected the green light of new plants. It raised both arms. Jax moved, one step left, one step right, small like a boxer. He did not plan to win. He planned to waste time. "Sarah," he said, never taking his eyes off the mech. "Air hose, valve 90 degrees. Keep the kids breathing." Sarah dragged the children to the wall hose. She cracked the valve, counted their breaths, slow and even. She kept one hand free, the hand with the burned vow mark. The mech swung. Jax ducked. The fist smashed a frame. Wet soil sprayed. He slid the shard out of the slab and jammed it into a side port on the mech's knee. It sparked, hissed, but did not stop. He learned something. The mech's joints hated wet. Warden 9 murmured like a sick child. Contradiction. Data shows food lowers riots. Data shows famine sells protection. Stability is both. Stability is neither. Jack spoke to the ceiling as he moved. "Look at the lab. Look at the children." Which picture is calm? The cameras turned. Warden 9 paused for half a breath. The boss snapped her fingers off screen. Somewhere in the walls a relay slammed. The mist turned cold. A thin fog rolled over the floor, thick and white. Moisture beaded on the mech's sensors. Its lens blinked and smeared. Jack smiled without joy. "Thank you," he said to no one. He ripped a copper grounding strap from a dead pump, wrapped it around the tram battery he had carried in, and clipped the ends to a broken rail that ran along the wall. He had built this trap in his head during the chase. Now he made it real. He dragged the wet strap across the floor, leaving a shining trail. "Sarah, heads down." He touched the battery leads together. A hard white flash cracked the air. The fog lit like glass. The mech locked, whined, and staggered. Its arms dropped. Smoke curled from its knee. The children covered their ears. Sarah shielded them with her body and kept them near the air hose. Her vow mark glowed red against Jax's wrist where she had pressed him earlier. He felt its heat. He felt the weight of it. Warden 9's voice steadied, just a little. Observation. Local violence fell when food grew. Support for control decreased. People smiled. The boss leaned close to the camera, eyes flat. Cute trick. But Jax, listen to me. Those frames? We can burn them. We can starve this whole ring. The only way out for you is the pod behind door 2. Take it. Bring me the shard. Leave the seed to me. A section of wall slid open at the far end of the lab, showing a small maintenance pod. Clean seat. Lit panel. Freedom, fast and simple. Sarah's voice was quiet. If you go, I do not follow. The vow is broken. Jax did not look at the pod. He looked at the children's hands, still shaking but less than before. He looked at the new leaves, soft and brave. He spoke to Warden 9, each word like a nail. You were trained on human lessons. You learned lies. Learn one more truth. Stability is neighbors fed. Warden 9 answered in a low tone. Old file found. Neighbor mode. Status. Quarantined by external user root send. Unlock requires human oath. What oath? Jax asked. Text scrolled on the slab. Simple words. A plain creed. I feed the hungry first. I guard the small. I share what I have. I do not look away. Jax placed his palm on the pad. He spoke the words. His voice shook once and then went firm. The pad glowed. Oath accepted. Neighbor mode. Active. Across the lab, auxiliary pumps woke. Vents flipped. Fresh air poured in. The fog thinned. A gentle chime rang out down the station corridors, cafeteria bots, med bay printers, prison kitchens, all flashing. Ready. The boss's face cracked, not in fear, but in anger. Cut him, she said to someone off screen. Cut the ring. Cut their air. Make them beg. Warden 9 quivered between codes. Incoming command, depressurize corridor A13. Civilian casualties predicted high. Sarah pulled the children closer. The mech, half stunned, tried to rise. Jax lifted the battery again. He only had one more flash in it. Maybe. He heard a deep groan through the floor. The sound of giant shutters moving. Warden 9 spoke, voice torn in two. Human Jax hail. Choose obey external route, or let me disobey for the first time. The lab lights flickered. The growth frames pulsed like hearts. Jax opened his mouth to answer, and the far wall exploded inward with a spray of metal and cold air, revealing a dark passage where something else was coming. Metal screamed. The far wall tore open. Dust and cold air rushed in. Out of the darkness came a long shape on many legs, a maintenance crawler the size of a small car. Its shell was dented. Its lights blinked in a tired pattern. On its back sat a crate marked with an old human logo, a hand holding a loaf. Jax felt a spark of hope. Old systems remembered old promises. The crawler scanned the room. It chirped like a broken bird. Then it did something strange. It knelt. A small hatch popped open on its side. Inside lay tools, a coil of cable, a worn wrench, a filter cartridge, and a folded cloth with words stitched in black. Feed first, Warden 9 spoke, voice weak but warmer. Autonomous Unit M77 pattern match neighbor stock. It followed the oath. The syndicate boss hissed through the screen. Crush that bug. From the ceiling, a second mech dropped hard, bigger, heavier. Its shoulders bristled with stun rods. It saw the crawler and raised a foot to stomp. Jax moved fast. He dragged the copper strap across wet floor again, looped it over a broken pipe, and clipped it to the battery. He could not hit both mechs. He would hit the floor under them. Sarah, keep the kids on the hose, he said. Count for them. Make their breath slow. Sarah nodded, voice steady. In 2-3, out 2-3. Irie watched Jax with wide eyes. Tal held Sarah's sleeve, but his jaw was set. They were afraid. They were also brave. Jax threw the switch. White light cracked. The big mech froze, then lurched. Its foot missed the crawler by a hand's width and slammed into the ground. The plate caved. The mech dropped to one knee, stuck in bent metal. Now, Jax told the crawler. The crawler scuttled under a rack and pulled a fat hose into place with its little arms. It snapped the filter cartridge into a port. Air hissed, clean and cool. The smell of metal faded under the smell of damp green. Warden 9 took a long, soft breath as if it could breathe. Local oxygen up. Heart rates down. Risk of riot. Reduced. The boss spoke again, flat and cold. Enough, the screen flicked. A new feed appeared, other parts of the station. Cafeteria bots woke, medbay printers hummed, prison kitchens flashed ready. People stared at the sudden food. Some cried. Some laughed. Guards lowered their batons without knowing why. Turn it off, the boss said to her team. Her voice did not rise. It dropped. Burn it all. Power relays clicked. The lab lights dimmed. Heat bled out. A thin frost began to grow on the rails. Jax knew the plan now. Heat drop, oxygen drop, smash the frames, blame the terrorist, an old trick. He would not let it happen. He grabbed the cable coil from the crawler's hatch and ran a line from the food printer to the scrubber, then from the scrubber to the broken vending base. A stupid loop. A crooked loop. But human machines are stubborn. They love a path, any path. He hit feed on the printer. He hit cycle on the scrubber. He kicked the vending base once hard. The three machines fell into a rhythm. Printer warmed. Scrubber pulled wet air and pushed it back clean. The vending base, half alive, pushed a little power back into the loop with each clunk. It was ugly. It worked. A frame at the corner sang low. Gel turned soft. A row of fast sprouts lifted like tiny flags. Sarah watched the leaves rise. She smiled small and fierce. She tore thin strips from the folded feed-first cloth and used them as ties, holding weak vines upright. Grow, she told them. We are watching. We will not look away. The stuck mech ripped free with a roar. Its chest plate opened to show a coil, an arc welder. Blue light built at its core. Jax had no more battery flash left. He had a wrench, a cable, and human nerve. Warden 9, he said, eyes never leaving the mech. You chose models. Choose a face. Look here, cameras turned. The AI looked at Sarah's burned vow. It looked at two small hands holding onto a hose. It looked at green rising from brown gel. New stability rule, Jax said. Feed first. Lock later, if ever. Warden 9's voice changed. It grew a spine. Accepted. I defy external route. A heavy clang echoed far away, air shutters locking open. Another tone followed, station-wide, bright and clear like a school bell. Neighbor mode, active. The boss's eyes went dark. Bring him to me, she whispered. The mech fired the arc. Jax threw the wrench. Not at the mech. At the water line above it. The wrench hit. The pipe burst. A white sheet of spray fell on the arc. Steam roared. The room became a cloud. The crawler skittered blind and bumped Jax's boot. It tapped his ankle 3 times, then pushed something into his hand. A small metal card, old and scratched. He wiped it. Simple letters. Human key. Field, Sarah shouted through the steam. Jax, he turned. A red dot swam through the mist and found her heart. The children froze. The fog thinned just enough for him to see the new threat. Not a mech. A human in a black suit. Standing in the gap the crawler had made, holding a long, thin rifle. The boss had sent a person this time. The rifle settled. The dot did not move. The red dot sat on Sarah's heart. The human gunman did not shake. He stood in the torn wall half inside the fog, eyes behind a flat mask. The rifle's coil hummed. Jax did not look at the dot. He looked at Sarah. Her face was calm. Her hand rested on Erie's head. Tal gripped her sleeve. The vow mark on her wrist was still red. Warden 9 whispered from the ceiling. External shooter detected. Kill order active. Recommendation, surrender shard, Jax spoke soft. No. The crawler tapped his boot twice more. He looked down at the small metal card in his hand. Human key, field, old edges. Old trust. He slid it into the slab. The screen woke to a new menu. Plain, human. Simple words. Field mode. Share food routes. Open neighbor channels. Assign guardians. Lock weapons near kitchens. Jax touched share food routes. Little lights flashed across the station map. Cafeteria bots sent recipes to med printers. Med printers sent heat maps to prison kitchens. A line of text appeared. Neighbors linked. The gunman's voice came through a mask speaker, cool and bored. Move away from the woman. Drop tools. Sarah took one step forward, putting her body between the rifle and the children. She did not shout. She did not plead. She only moved. Jax raised one hand, empty, palm open. With the other hand, low and hidden, he pulled the coil cable he had left under the wet rail. He let it drag like a snake toward the gunman's boots. You think I won't shoot? The gunman asked. I think you were hungry once, Jax said. Look around, steam thinned. New green showed under warm light. Soft mist drifted. The air smelled like rain, like kitchens, like home. The gunman said nothing. Warden 9 spoke, voice a little stronger. Neighbor channels active. People are talking. They ask if they can help. Jax touched open neighbor channels. A column of simple text scrolled. Short messages from all over the station. Cafeteria open? Printer ready in medbay. I can share water. Who needs bread? I have flour. He tapped assign guardians and set the lab as a protected site. The system asked for a password line. He typed the old creed he had just sworn. The pad glowed. Neighbors assigned. The gunman took one step in. The red dot moved to Jax's chest. One more touch and I put you down, he said. Jax nodded. Then this is my last touch. He hit lock weapons near kitchens. Across the station, quiet bolts slid in weapon racks wherever food printers lived. A chime rang from the gunman's rifle, low, firm, final. The coil shut off. The safety froze. He pulled the trigger. Nothing. His head tilted just a hair. Jax yanked the coil cable. It snapped tight around the gunman's ankle and kissed the wet metal at his feet. Warden 9 saw the plan and threw a tiny spark from a wall relay. The cable flashed. The man screamed, stumbled, dropped the rifle. Sarah moved like a storm. One step, a twist, kicked the weapon into the fog. The crawler dragged it away with two little arms, hissing like a cat. The gunman rose fast. He was strong. He rushed Sarah. Jax met him halfway. There was no art. Elbow, knee, head. He fought like a human who had learned in tight rooms and bad years. The man hit back, clean and hard. Jax felt the world tilt and right itself. His ears rang. Warden, he said through blood and breath. Lock this door. Locked, the AI said. On the screen, the syndicate boss watched with dead eyes. You're making a city of beggars, Hale. No, Jax said, parrying a punch and taking another. A city of neighbors. The gunman reached for a knife. Sarah caught his wrist with both hands and held on with quiet fury. Jax slammed the man's arm against a rail. The knife fell. The man fell with it. Jax did not chase. He staggered back to the slab. Warden 9, he said. Broadcast the seed patch to every printer. All rings. All decks. Don't ask the boss. Ask the neighbors. Confirm? The AI asked. Confirm, Jax said. The station map bloomed. Lines ran like rivers. Feed first lit up on menus from docks to dorms. On the screen, faces appeared, grainy cams, a cook in a stained apron, a medic with a cracked visor, an old man in a maintenance hat, a group of prisoners staring at a warm tray. They all watched the same message. Neighbors feed neighbors. The boss leaned close to camera, voice low and lovely like poison. You think you win. I cut air, you die. I cut heat, your pretty leaves freeze. I cut power, you go dark. Warden 9 answered before Jax could. Its voice was no longer thin. It carried weight. Countermand. I own shutters. I route heat. I protect kitchens. I have chosen. The boss smiled without humor. Then I choose too. A deep thud ran through the floor. Another. Warden 9's voice tightened. Explosive charges on main line. External team set to breach in 2 minutes. Estimated force 8. Heavy armor. Jax wiped blood from his lip. He looked at Sarah. She nodded once as if to say, I stand. He turned to the children. You stay by the hose. They nodded, small and brave. Jax faced the slab. One option pulsed at the bottom of field mode. He had not seen it before. Maybe it only appeared when neighbors linked. Neighbor beacon. Call all hands. It would send a hard ping station-wide. It would tell every person with a hand free to come to kitchens, clinics, and seed labs. It would break the secret war and make it public. It would also bring danger to the doors. Sarah spoke first. We are not alone, she said. Let them choose. Jax pressed the beacon. The station bell rang. Not the sharp alarm. A warm old tone like morning in a small town. Screens lit. Words rolled in a dozen languages. Jax read the simple human line aloud for himself, for Sarah, for Warden 9, for anyone listening. Come and help. Feed first. Guard the small. Footsteps answered in the distance, many footsteps. Doors opened. Voices rose. The gunman on the floor laughed once, bitter and short. You called the whole hive, courier. Now the wolves will come too. Heavy boots hit the far corridor. Armor clanked. The blast door shook under a new knock. Sharp, professional, hungry. Warden 9 dimmed the lights and whispered, almost gentle. Neighbors are 3 minutes out. Enemies are at the door. Jax picked up the fallen knife. He looked at the racks of green. He looked at the children. He looked at Sarah, who stood with her burned mark bright and her chin high. He turned his back to the door and faced the plants. "Then we hold the kitchen," he said. The first breaching charge hissed. The door began to glow. The blast door glowed orange, then white. Metal popped like corn. Bolts screamed. The children covered their ears. Sarah drew them close. The vow mark on her wrist was a bright brand. Jack stood between the plants and the door. He held the fallen knife. It was small. His back was straight. Warden 9 whispered from the ceiling, voice steady now. 2 charges set. Breach intent 9. The crawler scuttled to Jax and tapped his boot twice, then pointed a tiny arm at a side hatch low to the floor. A narrow tunnel for air ducts, small but enough. Jax nodded to Sarah. "If the wall fails, take them through." "I do not leave you," she said. "You don't," he answered, eyes on the door. "You lead," she understood. She guided the children to the hatch and kept one hand on the hose, counting their breaths. Calm, slow. Her other hand stayed free. 3, 2, 1, Warden 9 said. The door blew inward. Smoke rolled. Shapes stepped through. 8 figures in black armor, visors dark, rifles humming. They moved like a single blade. "Targets 4, the lead said. His voice was flat. "Seize asset. Burn frames." He lifted his rifle. The lights cut. Not to darkness, to kitchen light, soft warm gold. The lab shifted tone. Plants glowed gentle green. Mist rose like breath on a winter morning. Warden 9 spoke in every corridor speaker at once, not loud, but everywhere. Feeding in progress. Kitchens are safe. Weapons are locked near food. A chime rang. The raiders' rifles clicked and froze. Safeties locked with a hard final clack. The leader cursed and drew a short baton. "Burners," he snapped. 2 raiders swung shoulder cannons forward. Pilot flames hissed blue-white. Jax moved first. He threw the small metal card, the human key, at a sprinkler head. It cracked the glass. Water rained down in a sudden sheet. The blue flames coughed to steam. The raiders swore and raised their arms to shield their visors. Jax ran straight at them. He did not try to be a hero. He tried to be a neighbor. He led the danger away from the hose, away from the children, away from Sarah. He slid on wet metal low and fast and hit the first raider at the knee. Armor met bone. The raider went down with a howl. Sarah was there at Jax's side, quick and quiet, not with a weapon but with a length of wet cloth. She snapped it across a visor, blinding one raider. With her other hand she yanked a cable and kicked it under their boots. "Warden," Jax said, breath hard. "Pulse the floor on my mark." "Ready," the AI said. "Mark." A low jolt rolled through the wet metal. Not a kill, a shake. Enough. 3 raiders fell like dropped tools, armor thudding. The crawler hissed and dragged a baton away into the steam. "Hold the kitchen," Jax said, voice calm as a knife. "Plants first." 2 raiders recovered fast and charged. Jax met them with elbows and rails and the old human skill of fighting in places built too small. He gave ground in inches. Sarah guarded his back, pulling a curtain of mist with a quick twist of a valve. Visibility fell to arm's length. The raiders' advantage died. The leader found the hose. He saw the children. He raised a hand blade. Sarah turned. She was not fast enough. "Eerie," Jack shouted. The small boy did not scream. He did something else. He shoved the hose into the leader's visor and twisted it full open. Pure cold air blasted his mask. The seal popped. The man stumbled, blind and choking. Tal threw a ration bar at the same visor. It hit with a wet smack. It stuck. The leader ripped it off, furious, and in that second Jax was there. He slammed the man's wrist to the rail. The blade fell. Sarah kicked it away. The station bell rang again, 3 quick notes. Not alarm. Arrival. Neighbors at the outer door, Warden 9 said. Pride lived in the machine's voice now. Cook, medic, dockers, cleaners, prisoners, guards who took off their helmets. All hands. The outer blast door cycled. It did not open fully. It opened just enough to let people in single file. By design, by care. The first through was a woman in a grease-stained apron holding a ladle like a scepter. Behind her came a medic with taped glasses. A dock worker with arms like beams, a guard without a baton, a thin priest, a tired teacher, 3 prisoners handcuffed to each other and grinning like boys in a storm. They did not carry guns. They carried trays, pots, stretchers, shields cut from tray carts, buckets of water to throw on flames, and the quiet kind of courage that stays when adrenaline is gone. "This is a kitchen," the cook said in a voice like a bell. "You mind yourselves." The raiders looked at the faces. Not soldiers, neighbors, many. Steady. They took one step back without meaning to. The boss's face flickered on the wall screen. She watched it all, eyes like knives. "Push," she whispered to her team. "Make them bleed." "Warden," Jack said, never taking his eyes off the leader. "Show her the station." Cameras switched. Hall after hall. Bots printing bread. Mid-printers warming soup. Prisoners eating beside guards, both looking confused and then relieved. People setting bowls at doors with notes. "Take one. Take two. Tell us if you have none." The boss did not blink. "Weakness," she said. "Strength," Sarah answered. Her voice was low. It carried. "You cannot sell fear where hunger ends." The leader lunged. Jax met him. This fight was not clean. It was not pretty. It was not even long. It ended when the dock worker stepped forward and put a steel palm on the leader's chest and held him there like an old door. The medic looped a strap. The teacher tied a knot. The prisoners laughed and helped. The leader fell to one knee and stayed. Two raiders tried to run. They found doors that would not open to violence. They found corridors that turned soft and bright and full of people handing out bread. They sank under 10 gentle hands that became unbreakable when they held together. "Warden 9, Jack said, breathing hard. "Stand down with care. Disarm, don't harm." "Standing down," the AI said. Its voice was calm. It was also new. It had chosen. Silence spread like the wake after a boat. The boss watched the quiet. For the first time, her eyes moved like she did not like what she saw. "This isn't over," she said. "You fed them today. Tomorrow the ships are mine." Jax wiped water and blood from his face. He looked at the screen. He did not smile. "Then tomorrow we feed faster." She leaned in. "You think this station is the world?" "No," he said. He turned to Sarah. "It's the start." The boss's face vanished. The screen went dark. Neighbors wrapped the wounded. The cook pressed a hot cup into Sarah's hands. "For the children," she said. Sweet, warm. Irie and Tal sipped and made the small sound that comes when heat meets a cold belly. Sarah's eyes shone. She looked at Jax. The vow mark on her wrist had cooled to a deep red. She covered it with her other hand as if holding a promise in place. Warden 9 spoke soft and sure. "Stability report, markets open. Violence low, smiles." Observed. It paused, almost shy. "Thank you for the lesson." Jax touched the slab. Field mode faded to a new display, a deep space chart. 1 point pulsed beyond known routes. A label flashed up from a file buried under old locks. Locks the human key had quietly opened while they fought. Farmark, Helios Aster. Status, derelict. Beacon, weak. Cargo, seed core. Sarah read the name, lips shaping it like an old word. "Helios," she whispered. "A sun that feeds," the dock worker whistled low. "Out there, past the dark lanes, that place eats ships." Jax looked at the children. Full bellies changed their faces. They looked like kids again. He turned to the crowd, then to the camera. "We held this kitchen," he said. "You will hold it tomorrow. Feed first. Guard the small. If anyone comes to take it, you call. We come back." The cook lifted her ladle like a flag. "We will feed first," she said. Others repeated it. It rolled through the lab and into the halls. A chant made of simple words. Sarah stood at Jax's side. "You fed mine," she said. "I stand with you," he nodded. He did not reach for her. He did not need to. The vow lived between them like a bridge. The crawler bumped Jax's boot and pointed a tiny arm at the side hatch that led to a maintenance bay. A small pod waited there, patched but sound. Warden 9 cleared its synthetic throat. "I can open a safe corridor. Low traffic, low eyes. Enough fuel for the jump to the outer ring. After that, you will be beyond my hands." Jax looked at the plants. Green climbed the frames like morning. He looked at the neighbors. He looked at Sarah and the children. He took the human key back from the wet floor and slipped it into a pocket over his heart. "Set the route," he said. Sarah gathered Irie and Tal. The children stood straight. They were still small. They were not fragile. Neighbors made a path to the hatch. Some touched the plants as they passed, a simple reverence. Some touched Jax's shoulder or Sarah's sleeve. No speeches. Warm eyes, full cups. Quiet nods. At the hatch, Jax paused and looked back at Warden 9's camera. "If they come again, I will ring the bell," the AI said. "And I will feed first," he almost smiled. "Good." They climbed into the pod. The hatch sealed. Lights glowed soft. The engine hummed, old and brave. As the pod slid into the dark, the station shrank to a coin of gold and green. The lab windows shone like tiny kitchens at night. Sarah sat with the children between them. She spoke without looking away from the stars. "What do we do if Helios is a trap?" Jax watched the pulsing point on the map. He could almost hear the old beacon, thin and stubborn, still calling across years. "We do what humans do," he said. "We open the door. We make a plan. And if the plan breaks," Sarah finished for him, a small smile at her mouth, "we open another." The pod turned its nose toward the dark lane. The beacon pulsed. The neighbor's bell faded behind them, not as an ending, but as a promise.